Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Fox, certified high performance coach, and I am so glad you're here for today's Fox Talk. So, some quick housekeeping for you. We have exactly 30 minutes together today, so we're going to move at a pretty good pace. There won't be time for Q&A, but I know you'll get tremendous value. I strongly recommend having something to take notes with. You want to capture the specific techniques we're covering. And just so you know, there will be no replay of this session, so stay present with us. What if I told you that 71% of CEOs have the same secret fear you might be carrying right now? The fear that despite all their success, they don't actually deserve to be where they are, that someone's going to figure out they're just winging it. This is imposter syndrome, and you're about to discover why it's actually your leadership superpower in disguise. So let's do a quick chat. Drop a yes or thumbs up if you've ever thought, I don't deserve this role, or soon they'll realize I'm not as capable as they think. So let me see some yeses. I need to switch my view to everyone, so give me a second. Love this. I'm seeing yeses, yeps, lots of thumbs up. I really appreciate your honesty. So here's why this matters. A 2024 Korn Ferry report found that 71% of US CEOs say they've experienced imposter thoughts. There's also MIT Sloan research that found while imposter thoughts lower confidence, they can actually increase empathy and interpersonal effectiveness when you manage it. So this research tells us something so powerful. Imposter syndrome isn't a flaw in your leadership. It's proof your leadership is evolving. So think about it. The leaders who never feel imposter syndrome, they've stopped growing. They're comfortable, complacent, playing it safe. You feel it because you're stretching. You care deeply about excellence, and you have standards. Imposter syndrome is actually your internal GPS telling you you're headed towards growth. So today, we're not trying to eliminate it. We're learning to lead through it with what we call the AAA system. So I want to give you a personal story. I will never forget one of my earliest experiences with imposter syndrome. So I was in a prospect meeting, sitting across from an older corporate executive. I knew on paper I was more than qualified. I had my law degree, my MBA, my certified financial planner designation. I had put in the years of work, study, and preparation to be in that seat. But during the meeting, he leaned back in his chair, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "Sweetheart, I don't work with anyone who doesn't have gray hair." Outwardly, I smiled, and I'm a bit of a smartass. And I shot back immediately. "Sir, I don't have gray hair now, nor will I ever." Here's a proof point. So, inwardly, though, outside of me being smart, I froze. For days after that meeting, the voice in my head was relentless. It kept telling me, maybe he's right. Maybe I don't belong here. So have you ever had someone's words make you question everything? So just type yes if that's a yes, or thumbs up if it's a yes. So seeing that? So lots of yeses, lots of thumbs up. These moments, they stick because they hit our sense of belonging. Now, was that the last time I ever felt imposter syndrome? Absolutely not. I would feel it in times when I was promoted or took on a new opportunity. It would creep in again and again. And that's the truth about imposter syndrome. It doesn't just show up once, it often reappears every time you stretch into something new. So the question isn't if, it's how will you respond when it does. So, imposter syndrome, it's that persistent belief your success isn't deserved. You're winging it and at risk of exposure. So, I want you to take some notes on this part. What I'm about to share will help you see not just that you experience imposter syndrome, but how it tends to show up for you. That clarity matters because it gives you language for the pattern. And once you name it, you can start to change it. So, Dr. Valerie Young is a noted researcher in imposter syndrome, and she's identified five types. Five types. There's the perfectionist, where you say, if it's not flawless, I'm a fraud. There's expert. If I don't know everything, I don't belong. There's the soloist. If I can't do it alone, I'm incompetent. The natural genius. If it doesn't come easily, I'm not good enough. And superhero. If I'm not excelling everywhere, I am failing. So type your type in the chat or thumbs up if you're multiple types. So I'm seeing some thumbs up. Yep. You know what? This is so common in high achievers. And here's why this matters. Each type points to a different trigger point. For some, it's the pressure of flawless execution. For others, it's a sense that they should already know everything or never need help. Once you identify the type, you can anticipate how imposter thoughts will show up and start preparing strategies to redirect them. So, let me bust one of the biggest myths that gets in the way. A lot of people think if I were really confident, I wouldn't have these thoughts. Sound familiar? So, here's the truth. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to move forward despite the doubt still being there. So, Maya Angelou, one of my favorite poets, once admitted that even after publishing 11 books, 11, can't even put it in fingers, she sometimes thought they're going to find out I run a game on everybody. 11 books. And she kept writing anyway. That's what real confidence looks like. Not perfection, not certainty, just showing up. And here's why this matters so much for leaders. Imposter thoughts, they don't just stay trapped in your head. They leak out. They ripple through your team as hesitation, micromanaging, or avoiding the very opportunities that would move everyone forward. The good news? The very same practices that make leaders effective are also the antidote to imposter thoughts. When imposter thoughts scatter your attention, focus brings it back. When they distort how you see yourself, clarity restores perspective. When they drain your energy, renewal habits protect that energy. And when they hold you back from bold moves, courage grows by acting anyway. And when they push you to over prepare and under decide, productivity keeps you moving. And lastly, When those imposter thoughts make you second guess your presence, influence strengthens trust so your team sees your leadership, not your doubt. And just so you know, these 6 areas, they're not random. They're the core pillars we coach leaders on at NFOX. But even here today, you can see how they apply. Each one gives you a practical way to recognize imposter thoughts and respond with intention. Doubt, it doesn't disqualify you from leadership. What defines you is whether you choose to lead anyway. So here's what I see happening to brilliant leaders. Both Dave and I see this in the folks that we've been coaching, but these are brilliant leaders who let imposter syndrome run the show. What we see is that you stop taking the strategic risks your organization desperately needs. You defer to younger voices, not because their ideas are better, but because you're second guessing your own judgment. Your team loses access to hard-earned wisdom right when they need it most. And here's the kicker. While you're overthinking, your competitors, they're acting. So the cost isn't just personal, it's organizational. When seasoned leaders play small, everyone loses. So now we're going to pivot to the process. Because when doubt shows up, you need a simple reset system. That's what we call the AAA system. This is where you acknowledge, assess, and activate. So step 1 is acknowledge. And we're going to use this example kind of throughout the 3 steps. And here's the example. You're leading a digital transformation initiative, and a younger team member suggests an approach that you've never heard of. So that voice, that doubting voice, that critic in your head starts to say, everyone else seems to get this new tech stuff way faster than I do. Your very first step is to catch it. When that voice shows up, pause and say to yourself, this is imposter syndrome talking. Then feel it. Notice what's happening in your body. Maybe your chest tightens, your breathing goes shallow, or your shoulders start to really creep up towards your ears. The next thing, meme it. I like to literally say, thanks, brain, but I've got this. It separates you from the thought instead of letting the thought run the show. And then finally, replace it. Bring in your evidence. Remind yourself of the wins, the track record, the reasons you're qualified to be in that room. So here's a fun one. Give your imposter voice a name. What do you call it when it shows up? Type it in the chat. So I'll share mine. I call mine the sweetheart critic because it helps diffuse it for me, because it takes me back to that story where I was called sweetheart. And so this is something that naming it is really effective. So I know this is one that you might need to think about a little bit, but here's what we've seen in our coaching sessions. We see people calling it the critic, the doubt dragon. Naming it makes it manageable. Now, why do we do this? Because it can seem a little silly. I'm naming my inner critic. We name it because that's actual neuroscience at work. When you name that voice, you're activating the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, and calming the amygdala, which is the part that fires off your fight or flight response. So I want you to remember this. Name it to tame it. You're not just thinking positive, you're literally rewiring your brain. Each time you name it, you're building a stronger pathway from threat to rational response. That's neuroplasticity in action. But here's the other thing. Naming it is only half the battle. Once you've quieted the voice, you need evidence to replace it. Otherwise, that doubt, it just sneaks right back in. So that's where the next practice comes in. Start a weekly wins file. Every Friday, write down 3 things. Today's Friday. Write down these 3 things today. Write down what you accomplished this week. A difficult conversation you had, a decision you made, a problem you solved. Keep it simple. Say things like, I led the team through Project Pivot, gave feedback to a struggling employee, or chose courage over comfort in a board meeting or a client meeting. So, why does this matter? Because your brain has what is called a negativity bias. Yeah, great stuff, huh? It's wired to remember threats and failures more vividly than successes. That's why you can receive 10 compliments and 1 criticism. And isn't it true that that criticism is what keeps you up at night? When you document your wins in real time, you're fighting against that bias. You're creating an external memory bank that your brain can't distort. This isn't positive thinking, it's strategic memory management. And it gives you the receipts to push back on that imposter voice the next time it pops up. So now we're going to move to step 2, assess. So we're going to go back to that same example. You're in that digital transformation meeting and the thought pops up. Everyone else seems to get this tech stuff faster than I do. Now, here's where this step is different. In step 1, acknowledge, it was about catching the thought and calming the reaction. Step 2 is about evaluating it. So pause and ask, is this thought actually helping me serve my team or clients? Or is it just draining my energy? So here's what's happening in your brain. It's pulling an old file and running a pattern matching program based on past experiences. When you stop and reframe, you're interrupting the program and you're creating a new one. That's literally how new neural pathways are built. The old imposter route, it doesn't vanish, but the new confident ones get faster and stronger every time you use it. So, how do you reframe? Something like this. I may not know every platform, but I bring the wisdom to ask the right strategic questions and make sure we don't just chase shiny objects. So here's something for the chat. Think of a time when your questions saved your team from a costly mistake or saved them from going down the rabbit hole of bad ideas. Type yes if you've got one. I'm seeing yes, I'm seeing thumbs up. You know what that is? That's your evidence. That is your evidence. You're experiencing asking the right questions. That has real value. Now, here's your action step. Start building what I call your reframe bank. Write down 3 or 4 go-to phrases that flip your imposter thoughts on the spot. For example, I bring strategic wisdom. I ask the questions others miss. I've prevented costly mistakes. Keep them somewhere visible, on a sticky note, in your phone, wherever you'll see them. Because here's the sticky phrase I want you to remember. Reframe to regain. Reframe to regain. Every time you flip the thought, you regain your focus, you regain your presence, and you're regaining your power in the room. So now we're going to move to number 3, activate. We're still in that same meeting. And the thought is now, what if I ask a question that shows I don't understand? I might be exposed. right? The classic definition of imposter syndrome. So here's the flip. Instead of focusing on yourself, ask, who needs me at my best right now? Think about it. Who needs me at my best right now? Is it your team who needs you to model curiosity over ego? Is it your organization, which needs wise leadership, not just technical know-how? And that younger team member, they need to see that experienced leaders don't stop learning. So what's the move? You ask the question right there in the room. For example, you're sitting in the meeting and what you say is, hey, before we move forward, help me understand how this impacts our customer experience and budget timeline. That's not ignorance. That's leadership. You're pulling the conversation back to strategy and impact. So in the chat, think about who needs your A game today. Either type their initials or just drop a thumbs up. Who needs your A game today? Like the thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That person that you thought of who needs your A game, that's your why for action. So here's your daily practice. Each morning, write down one name, just one, of someone who needs your leadership that day. It could be your boss, your team, your client, or your family. Then, when imposter thoughts show up, remind yourself, I'm not here to perform for me. I'm here to show up for them. And here's the sticky phrase for this step. Activate for others. When you shift the spotlight from proving yourself to serving others, you not only quiet those imposter thoughts, you step fully into your role as a leader. So here's the truth that separates good leaders from great ones. Great leaders still feel the doubt and lead anyway. They don't wait for confidence. They build it through action. Think about Brené Brown. She has written bestsellers, delivered TED Talks watched by millions, and still openly admits to battling vulnerability and doubt before stepping on stage. The difference, she keeps showing up. Every time she chooses courage over comfort, she strengthens that leadership muscle. Your organization needs you to do the same. Not next month, not when you feel ready, now. So let's lock in your AAA playbook with these sticky phrases. So acknowledge, name it to tame it. This is where you're going to catch the thought, label it, and ground your body. Then bring in the real evidence. Assess, reframe to regain. Ask, is this thought helping me serve or is it draining me? Flip it so you can regain focus, presence, and power. And then activate for others. Shift the spotlight from proving yourself to serving someone who needs you. Take the strategic action. So here's another one for the chat. What AAA step, acknowledge, assess, or activate do you most want to practice this week? Type it in the chat or thumbs up for all of the above. I'm seeing activate. I'm seeing thumbs up of wanting to do all of them. Love this. So here's your homework, okay? Well, first, something to acknowledge is that pick one of these to master first. What we've learned through coaching is that when you try to change everything at once, you end up changing nothing. So make one step automatic, then add the next, but keep practicing the AAA. So your homework in the next 24 hours is use the AAA process once, just once. Then capture it Email yourself or write it down. What happened? What did you notice in your mind and body? What worked? What felt different? Here's why. When you record it, you're not only reflecting, you're reinforcing. The act of documenting, it locks in the learning. If you email it, you get a time-stamped log that you can look back on. If you write it down, you create a living record of progress. Either way, it's about making this shift real and repeatable. So, I could see that you're still with me because I'm seeing all the responses. If you're sitting there thinking, Jen, this makes sense, but I need help making it work in my specific leadership situation, here's what I want to offer you. David and I reserve time each month for 60-minute strategy sessions. These are free strategy sessions. They're not sales calls. They're actual coaching sessions where we dive deep into your unique challenges. And here's what typically happens in these sessions. Leaders walk away making decisions they've been avoiding for months, having the conversations they've been putting off, and stepping into opportunities they've been second guessing. And yes, some leaders decide to keep going and join us for the coaching. So if you want that kind of clarity, you've got two simple options. You can go to andfox.com and sign up for a strategy session, or just respond to the follow-up email you'll get after this talk, and we'll get you scheduled. If this resonated with you, do not let it fade. Take the next step. So here's what I know after leading and coaching hundreds of professionals. The ones who transform their organizations aren't the ones who feel doubt. They're the ones who feel it and lead anyway. Your experience isn't just valuable, it's irreplaceable. Your questions aren't signs of weakness, they're strategic wisdom. Your growth isn't a liability, it's leadership. The world doesn't need another leader who plays it safe. It needs you asking the hard questions, making the tough calls, growing even when it's uncomfortable. Now go be that leader. However, real quick, before you go, mark your calendars. Our next Fox Talk will be next Friday, and it'll be Courage on Demand, how to access your brave when you need it most. This is going to be powerful. Be sure you register so you don't miss it. Keep leading boldly. Have a fabulous weekend.